Hi, my name is Pastor Hal York, and welcome to Truth in the Trenches. Been away for a couple of weeks, and we're going to jump back into our study in the book of Proverbs. And today we're going to be in chapter 14, verse 30. When we read, "A healthy heart is the life of the flesh, but envy leads to the rottenness of one's bones." I think a healthy heart here is referring literally to the heart, our physical heart, because we all have one. He's talking about the life of the flesh. So it's referring to our heart. Heart health is a core factor in our overall health as a human being, as we know. If we neglect good habits and practice bad habits that have an adverse effect on our hearts, we pay a heavy price in every area of our life down the road. Our heart is no small part of our being, of our flesh. It cannot be ignored or abused without serious lifelong problems that plague our every step. Heart health is a big topic these days because of the reality of what we just stated. It's obviously not new information. Solomon's understanding of the heart would have been limited in his day, but they still understood the importance of a healthy heart. You neglect to take care of your heart by eating right and exercising, and there's a price to pay. And if you take good care of it, as much as within you to do so, you will reap positive outcomes. Out of the heart flow the issues of life, it says in chapter 4:23. That's a spiritual principle. But it's a spiritual principle that certainly rings true in our flesh as well as our spirit. This is why it's such an easy principle for us to understand. We know the importance of the heart. When we have heart troubles, our whole life revolves around that problem. It determines what we can and cannot do. The decisions we make are made based on the health of our heart, or lack thereof. And again, this is a self-evident truth. We all know this. But our verse is contrasting a healthy heart with something else. A healthy heart leads to life, but envy leads to rottenness of the bones. Envy is called the green-eyed monster. It's not a stranger to the writer of Proverbs. Proverbs 23:17 says, "Let not your heart envy sinners, but continue in the fear of the Lord all the day." We've looked at that verse before. And here we see that envy is not something that rests in us dormant. When we allow envy to take root in our hearts and our attitudes, it affects the very fiber of our being. Envy never travels alone. Bitterness and anger and resentment and wrath all travel with it. And once envy takes root in us, it becomes a very hostile and wicked taskmaster. A very subtle one sometimes, but nonetheless very wicked. It takes over how we think, how we treat people. It seeps into every relationship we have in our home, in our marriage, with our friends, with our children, with our church. No one is exempt. In the New Testament, envy is one of the fruits of the sinful nature. Resenting what people have, maybe it's praise or things or power or family or a happy life. Once that sin of envy takes root, it enslaves us, and it's a very crafty kind of slavery. We have excuses for our resentment that seem rational and logical, but are often made-up lies. Remember, the Pharisees were constantly going after Jesus, accusing him of all kinds of things, trying to trick him with their questions. It seemed like very good questions, very spiritual questions, very honest questions. But what were they hiding? It says in Matthew 27:18 that he knew that it was out of envy that they delivered up Christ. Ultimately, they were delivering him over to be tried and then crucified. Why? Because of envy. Envy is no small thing. Envy is a cancer that spreads very rapidly if it's not rooted out of our life. It rots the bones. And like an unhealthy heart, it affects every aspect of our life. A healthy heart, spiritually speaking, is a heart that is guarded from many things, but a major one is the sin of envy. And I think today in our age of social media and everything else, I think so much of what goes on in social media, I think, is sometimes to create envy in other people. Many a marriage and family and friendship has been destroyed by envy, even in churches. So what's going on in your life? Is envy eating away at your vitality, your joy, your relationships, your walk with the Lord? Do you find it hard to read the Word of God? Listen to 1 Peter 2:1-2. So put away all malice and all deceit and hypocrisy and envy and slander. Like newborn infants, long for the pure spiritual milk, that by it you may grow up into salvation. Envy kills our spiritual appetite for God's Word. So remember, a healthy heart is the life of the flesh, but envy leads to the rottenness of one's bones. It may not be happening just yet, but if you allow it to fester, envy will destroy you. It will impact every aspect of your being. So may this truth guide us and guard us in the trenches of life as we seek to live our lives for the glory of God and the good of others. May God bless.